Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be canning jalapenos. Let's get to it. Alright, for canning jalapenos today, I just picked these fresh off my vines about 30 minutes ago. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this top right here off and make sure there's no bad spots on the jalapeno. So just cut the top off like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to crack it open just a little bit so the brine can get in there. And then I'm going to cut a slit on one side. You could actually do a slit on both sides. It's not going to hurt it. But that's how the jalapenos are going to be. Now some of them have big enough holes where I didn't have to cut a ton of slits. But you want your brine to get down in there. If you have a really big one, you might need to cut another slit. Doesn't really matter where you cut it. But I'm going to finish, and now if it has any bad spots like this, you can just cut it out now and then cut the top off. Open it up some and then cut a slit in it. I'm going to do that to the rest of these. You should really be wearing these when you are handling jalapenos, but I forgot, so I'm just going to have hot fingers later. That slit. Remember, canning's not hard, it's just the prep work is time consuming. That's the hardest part, it's the prep work. But once you get the prep work done, if you have someone to help you, canning is actually really easy and it goes really fast and it's fun. So I'm going to get the brine ready and I'm going to show you everything I'm putting in the brine. Okay, here's what's going in my brine. I have the pickling salt. Remember, use pickling salt because if you use the regular table salt, it can discolor your water in your jars. So pickling salt, garlic. This is the garlic I harvested beginning of this year. Vinegar, make sure it's at least 5% acidity. And then I use filtered water when I'm doing this because it tastes better than my tap water in my area. But these are what I'm going to be using and I'm putting it in there. Alright, in my brine I have 12 cups of vinegar and 6 cups of water because I'm doubling it. If you wanted to do pints, you would do 3 cups of water and 6 cups of vinegar and 2 tablespoons of pickling salt. But in here I have 4 because I have quarts instead of the pints. And I'm also, in half of the jars, I'm going to do the pickle crisp, and then the other half I'm not. I'm going to see if it makes a difference on how they taste and texture and everything when I open them, and I'll label which ones are which, but we're going to do an experiment. Now get this stirred up. And remember, I have about 7 to 8 cloves of garlic in here. And I'm going to fish them out at the very end. And I crushed them a little bit so they could release their flavor into the water. Get this stirred up and also turn it on to medium high and get it boiling. Remember, when we're waiting for this to boil, make sure you have your canning station ready. Everything ready to go. This is ready for the hot water that's turned on back here. Make sure everything is sterilized. This is all sterilized and clean. These are getting really hot. Have everything ready so you're not trying to scramble around and find it later. Look how big these are. Huge. I left them on my plants for a long time hoping they'd get big, and they did. Remember guys, when you're doing pickling with vinegar and stuff, always use a non-reactive pan. This is stainless steel. This is a non-reactive pan. There's a couple others. that you can use. Do not use aluminum. Okay, the waters came up to boil. I'm going to turn this down probably about medium heat and let it simmer for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, we're going to take out the garlic. Make sure we get all the little bits out. And remember that you can, if you want to try this recipe, you can pause this video at any point. Pause it till you get to the certain part that you need to get to, and then just leave it there. Don't forget about that, because that's not going to go as fast as this video because it's chopped up. 5 minutes is up. I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to fish out all of the garlic. Make sure your water bath canner is on a medium to high heat. I mean, this is already steaming hot. I have it ready. So when I get done packing all the jars and cleaning them, it's ready to go. I'm going to fish out all of the garlic and just discard those. Now that the brine is done, I'm going to sanitize these. And I'm going to start taking, I'll probably take about 3 jars out. Remember to dump it over it so it doesn't splash on you. Let's do this one. Alright, I'm going to start packing these into the jars. I mean, look how big that jalapeno is. I don't know how many I'm going to get in here, but I'm going to try to fit as many as I can. I'm going to try to put smaller ones at the bottom to line the bottom, and then start packing in the big ones. Alright. Now, if you want to wear gloves while you're doing this, you can. My hands are clean. I just don't like wearing the gloves because sometimes they get stuck in the jar. Ooh, that is hot. Pack some of the small ones on the bottom. Try to fill in the holes. Really pack them in there. You want to ram them in there as good as you can. Now you're going to leave a 1/2 inch head space on these peppers. And we can probably fit one more in there. These are really big peppers. So I'm going to do that to the rest of these jars and then get the other 3 out. These 3, I'm going to put the pickle crisp in. And remember, when you're using the pickle crisp granulates for quarts, you use 1/4 of a teaspoon. For pints, you use 1/8 of a teaspoon. Since mine are quarts, I'm using 1/4. Alright, I got these jars packed. Now this one I alternated the skinny end and the fat end the whole way through, and I could fit more peppers in this one. But I'm going to put 1/4 of a teaspoon of pickle crisp. And these, because they're quarts, remember 1/8 of a teaspoon if you are using pints. And before you start dumping the brine in there, make sure you got, this is, remember they said this is not a necessary step for the lids, but I do it. It's better safe than sorry. I think it's necessary. And then I do the bands also just to sanitize everything again. So now we have the pickle crisp in there, and I'm going to start pouring the brine that I had on simmer. I turned it back on simmer after I turned it off. And I'm going to pour it in here and let it sit for a second so all the air bubbles can come up. Okay. See how the bubbles are coming up to the top? If you let that sit for a minute or two, the brine will start filling in the jalapenos. Okay, see, I filled that to the top up here. Look how far it's gone down. Gone down to right here, so it's starting to fill in. What you're going to do is you're going to have to debubble this jar, because see, there's bubbles all through this. A lot of times I like to just tap it, and then I'll gently push, because I'm going to have to fill this brine back up to 1/2 inch. But if you give them just a couple minutes, they'll start sucking in all the brine. Give them a couple taps. Ooh. And give them a push. Now you can use, I have a chopstick, or they have a debubbler that came with my utensil set that broke. You can use that. And you're just going to try to get all the bubbles, just getting all the air, and all you're doing is pushing it to the side. And I'm going to fill this back up, all of these, because they've went down significantly from where I had them. But you can give them a couple more taps, and then we're going to debubble them. Remember, my hands are clean. I'm just sticking it in, and you're just pushing a little bit to get any bubbles that are stuck. What I'm going to do is push this back down in here. Hold it down for a couple seconds. Now I'm going to put more in there. Let it sit. And keep working on the next jar. Go around the whole jar. Don't want those bubbles left in there. Push it down. It's not going to hurt these jalapenos. And then fill it back up. about the 1/2 inch. And I'll check all these again here in a second. Okay. Push it down. I know this seems excessive, but you want all the bubbles out. You don't want any bubbles left in there. You can see how many bubbles I get just by pushing them. Alright, now I'm going to check the headspace. Remember, use your headspace tool. This is a 1/4. Right here, 1/2, 3/4, 1 inch. So we want 1/2. So I'm going to check it, see it's low. And I'm going to fill it right to the 1/2. Okay. So now that's 1/2 on all these. These are still pretty warm. So now what you want to do is use your vinegar and water solution that you had in the hot boiling water and wipe your rims. Wipe them real good. You can feel sometimes the salts and stuff in the brine has dried. Turn it inside out, do it again. Make sure it's a clean rim. Right, now that you've cleaned the rim, get your lids. I did not touch the inside of this, just touch the top. Your bands. Okay. Fingertip tight, do not wrench them down. See, it's starting to give, starting to have resistance, but it's not fully tightened. That's what you want. Stop. You don't want to do it too tight. Now I'm going to put these back in the canner and get the other 3 out. Alright, for these 3, I'm not going to put the pickle granulates in them because I'm going to see which one turns out better, and it's going to be harder because these are not wide mouth, but they'll work. They're beautiful. Found these at Walmart searching for lids. Didn't find any. I'm going to try to alternate these skinnier jars. I might lay it on its side. Ooh. So, one fat end, one skinny end. We'll try this to see if it works better. Get in there. Remember, get as many as you can in there. Mine are really big, so I'm not going to get a ton. Some of the biggest jalapenos I've grown, and they're massive, so move the jalapenos around if you have to. And ram the other ones in there. Alright. Ram them as good as you can. I mean, these are huge jalapenos, so if they were smaller, you might get more in there, but that's okay. I like these. I'm going to work on these other two and put as many as I can in there. Okay, now that I've finished debubbling these jars for the moment, sometimes you can tip them like this and the bubbles that are stuck will come to the top. Now I'm going to fill them back up to a 1/2 inch. Alright, let's check them 1/2 inch. Alright, remember to wipe the rims with your water and vinegar solution. Just a little bit of vinegar and a little bit of water in a bowl. Make sure you get the rims really good. And put the lids and the bands on. Alright, remember, fingertip tight. We're going to take them, put them back in the canner now. If I put the other 2 jars in here, it's going to be too much water. It's going to spill out because I had water in the jars when it was heating up. So you can just take a bowl or something and scoop a good amount of it out. I always have extra hot water in case I need it. But you only need 1 inch to 2 inches, but when I'm doing quarts I can only do 1 inch in here, but you need at least 1 inch of water to cover the tops. Okay, I got the jars in there. Now remember, I used my little lid magnet tool and I marked 1 inch on it so I know that I have enough water in here. Plenty of water in here. At least, because it was up here earlier and it would spew out everywhere if I had left it there, so I took some out, but make sure you have at least 1 inch. And then put the lid on this and bring it to a boil. Alright, now the canner is up to a boil. I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes is up, turn it off, move it to the side, and let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then you can take them out. Okay, the 10 minutes was up and I let it sit for 5 minutes. You can still see the air bubbles filtering out of them. I'm going to take them out, put them on the counter. Wherever you put them, don't touch them for at least minimum 12 hours. I don't touch them until the next day. And then I'll check their seals. Okay, don't tip your jars. All that water will evaporate off. Don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt it at all. You can see the bubbles still filtering out for the lid to suck down. So I'm going to get the rest of them and put them over here. Alright, there's the jalapenos. Wasn't hard, it was easy. Now we're gonna let these sit and let all the air suck out of them and then seal for, I do 24, just say 24, but if you have to, absolutely have to, 12 hours minimum. And then in the morning, I will take the bands off, check their seals, and label them. Alright guys, that's the end of the jalapeno video. Remember to wipe your jars down the next morning, check the seals, push the tops to see if they seal down, and you can hold the whole jar by the lid. If it's sealed, give it a little tug. It should be sealed just fine. And then label them and then put them up for storage. See you guys next time. Bye.